Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of All the Mods 10. Today, we're going to be expanding our base in this direction. So, let's see what we can build. Alright, with that, our power plant, at least the way I want it to be for right this very minute, is done. I'll talk about this design in a second because you know what's even cooler than just one cooling tower? Two cooling towers. Let me show you how I'm going to do this. I'm going to use a schematic from Create. We actually need two of these guys because one of them needs to become the schematic and quill. So what you need to do is you need to highlight the whole creation. So I'm gonna go all the way to here. If you press Control and scroll wheel, you'll be able to like drag this around. So I'm gonna make sure to select exactly where the lines go. I'll put a link to a tutorial that I followed to build this in the description because that was a very nice video. That was very useful. Now that I've selected everything, I'm going to right click and then I'm going to put the name of this. So this is a cooling tower. So I'm going to save it. From here, I can put my schematic cannon down. I'm going to put it down while it's doing its work. I'll put it down right here, and I'll explain how that works. On the schematic table, I'm going to throw in my empty schematic and make sure that it's the cooling tower that is selected. We'll let this load. Now that that's loaded, we need to position it. So holding the schematic in my hand, I'm going to go kind of in the middle here and just right click and see where it lands. Looks like I'm actually in the correct spot, just one block too high. As the instructions say on the screen, I'm going to hold left alt. Can I scroll wheel or is that other thing overriding it? So I'm going to hold alt to change focus and then I'm going to scroll until I get to this move Y. And I'm going to crouch and move it down one. Move it down more, I can move it up more. But I'm going to make sure to select it so that it's in the correct spot for me. One other thing I want to do just to make sure that things kind of make sense is I'm going to use the mirror. Because I just want to make sure that it's facing at least in a similar orientation so that it looks like they're symmetrical. Now that that's done, you put it right into the schematic cannon. It'll tell you what it needs next, but before I do that, let me clear this out. Make sure that you create yourself or make yourself a clipboard from Create. These are really useful. I'm going to put the gunpowder in. It'll say that the machine is ready. In reality, it's not because it's missing the item. So if we grab our clipboard and put it in this top right slot. I think you can also use a book. I like using the clipboard because it becomes a checklist. The bloodstain is bad. Why is there a bloodstain? That's why there's a bloodstain. Can get rid of that. I'll tell it to skip the bloodstain. But everything else here, it gives us a list of requirements. Like I need 3,500 light gray concrete, smooth concrete, framed slopes, all this stuff. And I want to make sure that I have all of this before I go. So let me start grabbing all this stuff. So what you do is you open one of the barrels or an inventory that's right next to the schematic cannon and you throw them in. And if you re-put your checklist right back into the schematic cannon, yeah, there we go. It does tell us what items are in the inventories that are adjacent. Shame about the bloodstain, but 3,500 light gray concrete. Here we go. All right. Checklist is good except for the bloodstain. Because of that bloodstain, I need to make sure that skip missing blocks is on. Now that it's ready, I'm going to go ahead and hit schematic cannon and click ready. And this will start building the tower for us. We'll just sit right here and watch it. Maybe a little bit further back. Seriously big thank you to Gearsaw Studios for their tutorial on how to make these cooling towers. So I was able to make them two side by side. But let me explain some of what's going on here. Why did I choose to build a nuclear cooling tower? If we look at the All the Mods star, one of the items that we need is Insanite. That mod has reactors that are pretty big that I really would prefer to fit inside of some sort of building. I don't know that I can really fit them inside of my main base, but I did kind of lay this out so that we were at the very least in this set of chunk, we're like in 4 chunks here. And it won't just be big reactors, it'll also be like the antimatter stuff once we get to mechanism that we're going to need. We're going to need a lot of power for that, so we need to make a reactor that's big enough to power that. We need big reactors. Talking about the design of the building, I did build it based on that YouTube tutorial that is linked in the description. In that video, they also built like a underground water area, because I think some reactors or some cooling towers in real life have like water down here. I'll probably replace this with gravel here in a little bit. The thing that's interesting to me is that I've added chimneys from Railcraft Reborn. And so if I go down and enable these, so just flick some levers down here. If we do that, then we start getting smoke coming out of our reactors. Oh, is there like a limit to how many can be active at a time? Maybe there's like a particle limit or something. But this looks really cool. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Yeah, it's definitely a particle limit or something, because I saw all, yeah, like that. Look at that. It looks cool. Maybe it only works when you're close to it or something. It makes my game very laggy. I don't know if you're able to tell, but we go from like 120 FPS down to like 80. Probably leave it off most of the time. And I guess I shouldn't neglect this extension that was done to the main building too. Extra pathway here past the info center. Nice kind of curved trail, which will lead to a door here and then probably another big room right here. Alright, has been a little while. We now have, like I said, the path from the main building, but more importantly, we have gravel. No, just kidding. We have a roof, because if we go over here, it's very hidden, but there's an elevator, which will take us inside this cooling tower. From here, we need to start actually doing something this episode. We haven't done anything other than build yet, which is cool, but there is a quest book page for extreme reactors. I'm thinking we just follow this. Let me read through the quest logs and see what we need to do. Oh, there's an essence for uranium. Alright, apparently we have no uranium. That can't be true, because look at all this uranium we have here. We can crush this into... You can crush uranium and then... Okay, sure. Yeah, that doesn't sound dangerous at all, crushing uranium. Alright, here is uranium for the first part of the quest. We need graphite bars. Oh, this also has an essence. Let me go do those real quick. Okay, I've made pretty much every basic thing that we needed to make up to this recipe here. Yeah, I'm just gonna upgrade straight into the reinforced reactor. So this reactor I'm just tossing because I'm going to make the reinforced one. I think we got cyanite from some quest collection thing. I have literally no clue why I have so much of this in my inventory. Why do I have so much cyanite, actually? Wait, actually, what? Apparently I just have tons of cyanite for some reason. I guess, I mean, it saves us some time. I can also just make cyanite seeds, but that's weird. I don't know why we have that. Oh, I know where we're getting that now. Hang on, I don't need to make a cyanite seed. I remembered now. Somewhere in this big mix, we should have a cyanite seed, which I don't remember why we got it. I think it was a quest reward that I planted down. But we have so much cyanite. Alright, this is actually a lot easier than I thought it would be. I have reactor casings on the outside. I built a pretty decently large reactor. For cooling for the moderator, I used netherite blocks. Apparently this is the best thing. Maybe it's not. But apparently that's a pretty decent coolant to go in between the fuel rods. Is a 10 by 14 by 9 reactor. Pretty decently sized reactor. It's already almost full of this, so I guess if we turn it on, it gets hot really fast. It says passively cooled. How do I give it water? Look how much energy it's creating though. Apparently this is very easy. All you have to do is pass in water. Whoops. Pass in water into a active forged fluid port, and then we should, yeah, there you go. So this will, instead of making us energy, will make us steam, which we can then pipe out in this direction. And then from there we can take this, make a turbine, and then we can make some other cool things. So that being said, I think this is a pretty good spot to stop this episode. So thank you guys for watching, and me and my army of IVs will see you next time. Bye-bye.